Yai lay 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 die die yai die 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 yai die 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 yai die 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 yai die 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 yai die 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 yai die 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 yai die 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 yai die 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 yai die 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 die.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And welcome to Temple Bethel. It's great to see so many folks here today. And Aaron, you have like quite a little contingency here in the first 3 rows, right? So they're watching you. They're watching you, and you're watching him. So it's great to be able to come together to celebrate Shabbat together as we do throughout our Jewish communities every Friday night and Saturday. And this morning in many synagogues, people got together to share Shabbat as a community. We come together this afternoon to continue our celebration and our observance of Shabbat by sharing the liturgy of our people together and by welcoming Aaron into the adult Jewish community. A little bit later on, he will chant verses from the Torah, and he will share some words of Torah as well. And Aaron, let me be the first to say Mazel Tov on your becoming Bar Mitzvah today, and a special Mazel Tov to your parents and your family who are here and your friends who are here to come and celebrate with you as well. The prayer book that we use is called Mishkan Tefillah. It's that big blue book that is in front of you or right beneath you, Ron. And throughout the course of the service, either Aaron or I or our readers will tell you exactly where we are, so you shouldn't get lost at all. Feel free to read along with us, pray along with us, or just wander around the prayer book as well. Just no reason you should get lost at all. And we do invite you, if you know our customs, to really be full participants in our service. So Shabbat Shalom. And as we continue our service, on page 124, it is my pleasure to invite to share some readings. We have Sean McNally, Roman McNally, and Savannah McLeod.
May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. Then we're going to go to page 127.
We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope. For Shabbat, holiness, which inspires sacred living. For Shabbat, memories, glowing even in darkness. For Shabbat, peace, born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessing, O God. And we continue on page 184.
Each of us enters this sanctuary with a different need. Some hearts are full of peace and gratitude, overflowing with love and joy. They are eager to confront the day to make the world a better place. They are recovering from illness or have escaped misfortune. We rejoice them. Some hearts ache with sorrow. Disappointments weigh heavily on them. Families have been broken. Loved ones lie on a bed of pain. Death has taken a cherished loved one. May our presence and caring bring comfort to them. Some hearts are embittered. Ideals are betrayed and mocked. Answers sought in vain. Life has lost its meaning and value. May the knowledge that we too are searching restore our hope and renew our faith.
We continue now on page 338, with Ashrei, words from Psalm 145.
אשרי יושבי ביתך, עוד יהללוך סלה. אשרי יושבי ביתך, עוד יהללוך סלה. אשרי, אשרי, אשרי יושבי ביתך. Happy are those who dwell in your house, they will sing your praises forever. Happy are those who dwell in your house, they will sing your praises forever. Ashrei yoshvei beitecha, od yehallelucha selah. Ashrei yoshvei beitecha, od yehallelucha selah.
Please join me responsively. David's song of praise. I will extol you, my God and sovereign, and bless your name forever and ever.
Every day I will bless you and praise your name forever and ever.
Great is Adonai and much acclaimed. God's greatness cannot be fathomed.
One generation shall laud your works to another and declare your mighty acts.
The glorious majesty of your splendor and your wondrous acts will I recite.
They shall talk of the might of your awesome deeds, and I will recount your greatness.
They shall celebrate your abundant goodness and sing joyously of your beneficence.
Adonai is gracious and compassionate, slow to anger and abounding in kindness.
Adonai is good to all, and God's mercies upon all God's works.
All your works shall praise you, Adonai, and your faithful ones shall bless you.
They shall talk of the majesty of your sovereignty and speak of your might.
To make God's mighty acts known among mortals and the majestic glory of your sovereignty.
Your sovereignty is eternal. Your dominion is for all generations.
Adonai supports all who stumble and makes all who are bent stand straight.
The eyes of all to you look expectantly, and you give them their food when it's due.
You give it open-handedly, feeding every creature to its heart's content.
Adonai is beneficent in all ways and faithful in all works.
Adonai is near to all who call upon God with sincerity.
Adonai fulfills the wishes of those who fear God. Adonai hears their cry and delivers them.
Adonai watches over all who love God, but all the wicked God will destroy.
My mouth shall utter the praise of Adonai, and all creatures shall bless God's holy name forever and ever.
We will bless you, God, now and always. Hallelujah.
We continue our Mincha service with tefillah on page 344. Please stand. Please stand.
Please stand.
Yeah.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agitei latecha. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agitei latecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu ve'Imoteinu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Ve'Konei Hakol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר Mashiach haruach umorid hagashem, mechaker chaim bechesed, mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofeh cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al gevurot, umido melach, melech memit umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
Your might, O God, is everlasting. Help us to use our strength for good and not evil. You are the source of life and blessing. Help us to choose life for ourselves and our children. You are the support of the falling. Help us to lift up the fallen. You are the author of freedom. Help us to free the captive. You are the hope in death as in life. Help us to keep faith with those who sleep in the dust. Your might, O God, is everlasting. Help us to use our strength for good, for blessing and not for curse, for life and not death, for abundance, not want. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, הכתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ, כבודו. אדיר, אדירנו אדוני, אדוננו, מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון, לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גוד לך. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גוד לך. ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך, קדושתך נקדיש. ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך, קדושתך נקדיש. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גוד לך. לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גוד לך. ושבחך אלוהינו ניפינו לא ימוש, לעולם לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please continue silently through page 361 with the prayers in your hearts. Once you have completed your prayers, please be seated.
acceptable to you. Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. O say shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru, ve'imeru,
Shabbat Shalom. One of the best parts of my work as a rabbi is sitting with bright bar mitzvah students like Aaron, as together we take a text that is thousands of years old and make it relevant in our own day. For the past several weeks, Aaron and I have met regularly to explore the verses of Torah that he will teach us about later in our service. We've also shared discussions about other matters as well, and as is our custom here at Temple Bethel, I invited Aaron to ask me a question about any facet of Jewish belief, culture, or tradition that I promised I'd begin to answer today. Now, Aaron, as you might expect, asks one of the most difficult and perplexing questions that people of all faiths continue to ask today. Aaron simply wants to know, why does God allow suffering? Why does God allow suffering? Thank you for the question, Aaron. Really, really appreciate it. I was looking forward to a nice, quiet afternoon yesterday, and you know. So Aaron, as you might imagine, philosophers and theologians representing many different faith traditions have tried to address this question, and not always to the satisfaction of the person asking the question. And as you might further imagine, their explanations about suffering have developed over the years, sometimes in response to events that they have witnessed in our world. So let me first take you on a quick historical survey. In ancient cultures that had many gods, oftentimes there was a god of good and a god of evil, and the two always lived in conflict with each other. Monotheism, which is the belief in just one God, and of which Judaism is an example, monotheism rejects this idea. As Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, the former chief rabbi of Great Britain, suggests, essential to monotheism is that conflict is not written into the fabric of the universe. That is what redeems tragedy and creates hope. What he means is that conflict isn't a necessary condition of monotheism and of Judaism. It may exist and arise, but it isn't part of the fabric of Jewish life. Throughout the ages, as philosophers wrestled with the question of suffering, Maimonides, the great medieval sage who died in the year 1204 of the Common Era, suggests that natural disasters, for example, are simply part of what it means to live in the physical world. Humanity must live within the realm of the physical. So when earthquakes happen or tidal waves strike, killing a lot of people and bringing about great suffering, Maimonides would say that it's just God's plan at doing what it naturally does, and unfortunately, sometimes innocent people die in the process. This is the conflict that arises that causes suffering that I mentioned before, but it isn't part of the fabric. It isn't woven into Jewish life. It happens. Now, many theologians will try to separate suffering, especially that which comes from natural disasters. They'll try to separate that from a divine source. Rabbi Mordechai Kaplan, who died in 1983, believed that disasters bear no moral weight. They are simply organic processes at work in the world, as it evolves and strives for fulfillment. Suffering doesn't happen, Aaron, because people are bad or don't follow God's ways. Suffering from natural disasters just is part of the world we live in. Now, in Jewish history, the biggest challenge to an active, benevolent God who protects people from suffering at the hands of others, the biggest challenge to this was, of course, the Holocaust. During the years of Hitler's final solution from 1942 to 1945, Hitler and his minions created a detailed plan to exterminate all of the world's Jews, beginning with the Jewish community of Europe. Our people endured the most unimaginable suffering. And out of that horrific experience, an idea emerged in theological circles that was called the Death of God movement. After Auschwitz, many could not believe in a God who would allow this level of evil and depravity to happen. It led many theologians to agree with the sentiment of the French philosopher Albert Camus, who once said that, quote, "We stand in a cold, silent, unfeeling cosmos, unaided by any purposeful power beyond our own resources." It's pretty bleak, don't you think? Despite some trends after the Holocaust to suggest that God was dead, other theologians took a different approach. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, who died in 1972, he was one of the great leaders of the last century. He argued that the Holocaust should move people to examine their own behavior and not that of God. The question about Auschwitz is not where was God, but where was man? So, Aaron, in about 3 or 4 minutes, I've taken you through more than 2,000 years of Jewish philosophy and theology, and I've given you different suggestions. Suffering is just part of the natural order of things. Suffering comes from God, just as goodness does. There is no God because God would not allow suffering like that of the Holocaust to occur. And the question of suffering is not where was God, but rather where was man? Take your pick. All are valid responses. None of the thinkers who shared these ideas decades ago or centuries ago, none own the patent on the truth. It's just a matter of what we believe. So let me share what I believe. What I believe and what I have taught throughout my career is that we should not try to answer the question, why does suffering happen? We'll never find an answer that is satisfying or morally acceptable. The question we can answer, however, is this, Aaron. In the face of great suffering, what are the powerful ways we can respond? And as Rabbi Sachs says more eloquently than I do, he says, and he writes, the religious response is not to seek to understand, thereby to accept. The only adequate religious response is to say, God, I do not know why this terrifying disaster has happened, but I do know what you want of us, to help the afflicted, to comfort the bereaved, send healing to the injured, and aid those who have lost their livelihoods and homes. We cannot strive to understand God, Aaron, but we can strive to imitate God's love and God's care. We see examples of this time and time again. When a horrific event takes place, be it a natural disaster like a hurricane or an earthquake, or even some form of terror at the hands of humankind, we can't ask, why didn't God protect me or my loved ones from our suffering? But rather we ask, how can I best respond in the face of this suffering? Earlier this week, when 180 gravestones at a Jewish cemetery in St. Louis were desecrated, that heinous act bolstered so many, the act that bolstered so many was the outpouring of support, love, and donations, especially from the Muslim community, that helped to clean the cemetery and begin the necessary repair work to the damaged headstones. Nobody was asking, why did God allow this to happen? Rather, everybody was marveling at how the Spirit of God was in those who responded to the suffering of others. So, Aaron, the unfortunate condition of human life is that at some point, all of us will experience some form of suffering. When a loved one dies, when someone we love experiences a serious health crisis, when we are faced with a difficult challenge in our lives, it is likely to be accompanied with some level of suffering. We can't run away from that. However, we can develop our inner strength to be able to better deal with the suffering, and we can cultivate an attitude of faith in God to help us endure through that suffering. So Aaron, may you always be one who is called upon to help those who are suffering, and use your gifts, your many gifts, to help those in need. May your own suffering be minimal, and your capacity to respond to others always be overflowing. Amen. Aaron, in just a couple of minutes, you're going to be called to the Torah for the first time as bar mitzvah. And you're going to be adding your chain to that chain of tradition that extends all the way from this Torah and this bima, where your mother stood to be called to Torah recently as an adult bat mitzvah, where your brother stood, and where your friends in our community have as well. You're the very first person in this year's Hay class to become bar mitzvah, and we're really proud to inaugurate this year with this celebration for you. Now, this Torah that you're going to read from, as you know, but maybe some of your friends and family don't know, is one that has a very special history. It's a Torah scroll that was rescued from the ashes and from the embers of the Holocaust after World War II. It's a Torah scroll that for many years was used at a synagogue in the Czech town of České Budějovice, which used to have a big, thriving Jewish community where people would gather every Shabbat, every Friday night and Saturday, to celebrate Shabbat together and to read from this Torah scroll. But during World War II, in the years 1939 to 1945, as many of us know from history, Hitler and Hitler's army went all throughout Europe, destroying communities and leaving just ashes and rubble in their wake. Throughout towns and villages, they would round up the Jews of those communities, send them to concentration camps and death camps. They would destroy the synagogues, and in many cases, they would take the Torah scrolls and other ritual objects that they would keep as their plunder from the war. Now, in České Budějovice, they had an idea that some harm was coming, so they took this Torah scroll and they had it for a while in the Prague synagogue, in the great synagogue in Prague, and that's where it was for a period during the war, where surprisingly it remained safe while everything else around them was destroyed. Shortly after the war, that Torah scroll and about 1,600 others from the Czech Republic made its way to the Westminster Synagogue in London. And there that Torah scroll was housed basically in a basement collecting dust for a number of years until in the 1960s or so, someone had the idea to take these Torah scrolls and to lend them out to Jewish communities worldwide as a permanent remembrance and tribute to these Jewish communities that no longer exist, but that still live on in our hearts and through the Torah scrolls that used to serve them. In many cases, the Torah scrolls that were farmed out, about 1,600, as I said, were in very poor condition and couldn't be read from. They sometimes sit in the foyer of synagogues and in some sort of Holocaust remembrance, kind of in a little display case. We're very fortunate, Aaron, that the Torah scroll from which we are chanting this afternoon is one that is still good enough to be read from. And it's very special because when you read from this Torah, we are reminded that you, along with every other bar bat mitzvah in our community, every other person who has become confirmed, like your brother celebrated this past May, that another young person is adding his or her link to this chain of tradition. And it's this constant reminder that Am Yisrael Chai, that the Jewish people still live, that despite the suffering that our people endured during the Holocaust, we are still here today to be able to celebrate our Jewish heritage and tradition and to welcome another person as a bar mitzvah in this particular community at this particular moment in our lives. So, Aaron, in a few moments, you will actually take that Torah in your arms and you'll chant from it. But before you do, I'd like to invite you to come forward and share your bar mitzvah pledge.
I'm about to receive the gift of Torah and share in the sacred responsibility of teaching Torah to others. I'm able to do this because I have studied and because I have made a commitment to the value of learning. In order for me to grow as a Jew and to share with others the blessings I have received, I accept the responsibility to continue with my Jewish education through confirmation and perhaps even beyond. As bar mitzvah, I am responsible for the mitzvah of learning, and I will fulfill that mitzvah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kichanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who has made us holy with your commandments and commanded us to be occupied with the words of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamlamed Torah lamcha Yisrael. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who teaches Torah to your people Israel.
Amen.
So as we prepare to continue with Seder Kiryat HaTorah, our service for the reading of Torah, I invite you first to turn to page 364, and I invite to come to the Bima to open the Ark, Renee McNally and Michael McNally, along with Allison and Ron, who will share a special blessing for Aaron, and will pass the Torah to him. Page 364, please stand if you are able.
To our dear Aaron, from the moment you were born, you've been ready for life. I pushed twice and you came gliding out like a surfer riding a wave on the ocean. Our beautiful baby boy who had white blonde hair and turquoise eyes, I wondered if in fact you really were our child, or could you have been switched in the hospital nursery?
When you were born, you were so ready to start your life. The doctor could barely get her gloves on in time to catch you. Since your birth, you've been tenacious about living life to its fullest. I kept watch of you while in the nursery. Not a chance you were switched. You're all ours.
I marvel at your confidence and again wonder where that came from. Your intelligence and wit have always been a pleasure to behold, and you've grown into an extremely thoughtful and caring young man.
It's easy to see your physical growth and your growth in learning and in wisdom. But only a parent can truly see the emotional growth and how you have become a responsible, loving young man. That's right, man.
Today, your family and friends have gathered in the sanctuary to share this momentous sacred occasion with you in accepting the responsibility of becoming a bar mitzvah, which, as you know, means son of the commandment. This joyous day is the culmination of years of study. However, we wish for you that it's just the beginning of your spiritual journey. And here are some wishes that we have for you in the future. May you be proud of your rich heritage as a Jew and feel grateful for the gift of Torah. May you continue to study the Torah throughout your life when you thirst for spiritual wisdom and insight.
May you weather the storms of life with the love and support of your family, friends, and God. May you always be surrounded by the sweet shelter of God's blessings. May you put the needs of those you love before your own.
May you always seek the truth and be courageous in defending it.
May you reach beyond your personal desires and strive to become a positive influence in the world to make it a better place.
We're so proud of you. Mazel tov.
We now take this very special Torah scroll and pass it from one generation to the next, transmitting the learning and the values contained within it.
Ki Adonai iti, uneromema shemo yachdav. Lecha Adonai hagedula, hagedula vehatiferet, vehanetzach vehaod. Ki chol bashamayim uba'aretz, ki chol bashamayim uba'aretz. Lecha Adonai hamamlacha, tamid na'aseh lechol lerosh. Yisrael, Yisrael, ve'oraita chadu. Yisrael, Yisrael, ve'oraita chadu. Torah ora, Torah ora, hallelujah. Torah ora, hallelujah, hallelujah. Torah ora, hallelujah. Torah ora, hallelujah. Yisrael, Yisrael, ve'oraita chadu. Yisrael, Yisrael, ve'oraita chadu. Torah ora, hallelujah. Torah ora, hallelujah, hallelujah. Torah ora, hallelujah. Torah ora, hallelujah. Yisrael, Yisrael, ve'oraita chadu. Yisrael, Yisrael, ve'oraita chadu.
Welcome back.
Aaron, I now know why it took Moses 40 years to get through the desert. Because your family was there.
Yeah. But if Aaron was in the lead, it would have taken about 40 days, so please be seated.
Exactly. Moses needed you at the front of the pack, Aaron. That's fantastic.
So sit.
You come here.
Okay then.
You got some work to do, my friend. So in a moment, Aaron is going to teach us some Torah, and in doing so, he's going to invite up several groups of his family to come up, literally aliyah Torah, to come up to the Torah and to bless each of the readings. For the first reading, Aaron calls upon his grandparents and his aunt, Joan Toplet, James Toplet, and Heather Leon. Yamdu, Shoshana Yentel, Bat Mordechai Bechana, Carmel ben Avichail Besara, Marva bat Carmel, ve Shoshana Yentel, Aliyah Torah.
We're slow too, huh?
Yeah.
40 more years.
Stand that side.
This way.
Doing great.
Okay. So you want to get in the middle here? Okay. Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach la'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam. Asher b'toranu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai, noten ha'Torah. Not bad?
Amen.
Amen. Daber Adonai el Moshe lemor. Daber el bnei Yisrael vayikhu li truma me'et kol ish asher yivenu libo tiku et trumati. V'zot Hadruma asher tiku itam zachav vachesed unechoshet. Vit utechelet vargaman v'tolat shani v'sheish v'izim ve'erot elim me'odamim ve'erot techashim v'atzeh shitim. Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, "Tell the Israelite people to bring me gifts. You shall accept gifts from me, from every person whose heart is so moved, him. And these are the gifts that you shall accept from them: gold, silver, and copper, blue, purple, and crimson yarns, fine linen, goat's hair, tanned ram skins, dolphin skins, and acacia wood."
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayed olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Kiss the kid.
Okay.
Kiss the
It would be my pleasure. Get over here, you hunk.
For the second aliyah,
Can I have a smooch? So cute. Okay.
switch sides, there you go. For the second aliyah, we invite Aaron's incredibly proud older brother, Jacob Brandt, Yamod Yaakov Aryeh ben Natanya, Aliyah LaTorah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamavorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Shemen lamor besamim l'shemen hamisha v'likoret hasanim avnei shocham v'avnei miluim v'ifod b'lachoshem v'asu li dash v'shechanti betocham kechol asher ani mareh otcha et tamnit hamishkan ve'et tamnit kokilav ve'chein ta'asu. Oil for lighting, spices for the anointing oil, and for the aromatic incense, lapis lazuli and other stones for setting, for the ephod and for the breastpiece. And let them make me a sanctuary, and I may dwell among them. Exactly as I show you, the pattern of the tabernacle, and the pattern of all its furnishings, so shall you make it.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Good job, good job. Yeah, okay then. Okay.
He wasn't that big and his voice wasn't that deep.
Okay then.
For the third aliyah, we invite forward Aaron's incredibly proud parents, Allison and Ron Brandt. Tamod Natanya bat Carmel v'Shoshana Yentel Aliyah LaTorah.
Blessed are you, Holy One of Being. May the words of Torah be sweet to us and our offspring. May the values of Torah be inscribed in our hearts. We praise you, Holy One, giver of Torah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamevorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vasu Aron Atzei Shitim Hamatayim v'chetzi arko. Hama v'chetzi rachbo. Hama v'chetzi komato. V'tzipita oto zahav tahor. Mibeit umihut. Shitzapenu. Yasita alav. Zer zahav saviv. Yatzakta lo. Arba tabot zahav. Na'atata al arba pamotav. Ushe tabot. Al talo ha'echad. Ushe tabot. Al talo ha'sheni. They shall make an ark of acacia wood, 2.5 cubits long, a cubit and a half wide, and a cubit and a half high. Overlay it with pure gold, overlay it inside and out, and make upon it a gold molding round about. Cast 4 gold rings for it to be attached to its 4 feet, 2 rings on one of its side walls and 2 on the other.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata betohenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
Blessed are you, Holy One of Being, who has given a Torah of truth, who has given eternal life and light. Blessed are you, Eternal One, giver of Torah.
Amen.
Kiss the kid. Okay.
Stick around.
Okay then, yes, we need those. Okay.
He's sticking around. For the fourth and final aliyah, for the first time as bar mitzvah, we welcome Aaron Brandt to the Torah. Yamod, 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 Habachur bar hamitzvah, Aharon ben Natanya, Chazak, Chazak, v'nitchazek.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamborach.
Baruch Adonai hamborach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamborach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
V'asita vadei atzei shitim v'tzipita otam zahav v'heveta et habadim v'tabaot al tzalot ha'aron v'aseit et ha'aron bahem v'tabaot ha'aron yihu habadim lo yasuru mimenu v'natata el ha'aron et ha'edut asher etein elecha. Make poles of acacia wood and overlay them with gold. Then insert the poles into the rings on the side walls of the ark, for carrying the ark. The poles shall remain in the rings of the ark. They shall not be removed from it. And deposit in the ark the tablets of the pact that I will give you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata betohenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Okay then.
I invite you to please turn to page 370 and please stand if you are able. As I lift the Torah, and you can see the words that Aaron just chanted so beautifully.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. וזאת התורה, וזאת התורה, וזאת התורה אשר שם משה, וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל, לפני בני ישראל. וזאת התורה, 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 וזאת התורה. Please be seated.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
This week's Torah portion is called Shema, and it comes from the book of Exodus, chapters 25 to 27. I am chanting specifically from chapter 25, verses 1 through 16. Moses is the messenger between God and the Israelites. The message here is that the Israelites should begin to make a tabernacle for God. A tabernacle is a place where the Israelites would come to worship and dwell with God. For this portable tabernacle, God provides exact measurements for its construction. The specific materials to be used, such as gold, silver, copper, acacia wood, fine fabrics, yarns, leathers, and more. God commands that all of these materials be used to make the objects of the tabernacle, including the ark. All of this is built with the gifts from the people as their hearts are so moved. People want to donate, they want to help out, and they want to make a difference. They made the tabernacle for God so that God could have a place to dwell with the Israelites and so that the Israelites could be close to God. There is a famous quote in the portion stating, "Make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among you." The verse is etched onto one of our donor recognition walls to represent the holiness of the temple and to honor the generosity of all of the people who have helped build our temple over the decades. Show of hands. Who's here for my brother's bar mitzvah? Okay. Do you notice anything new or different? We recently have remodeled the temple. I think it's a nice improvement over the old temple. It's more modern, more open, and it looks really nice in here. Hopefully you think so too. Just as the Israelites gave as they were moved thousands of years ago, so too were many people in our temple moved to help us renovate this temple. And if your heart is so moved, it's not too late to donate. I'm just kidding with you. I think that God was here before the remodel, but it made it easier for the people to congregate in this great place today. God also commands that the Israelites make an ark for this tabernacle. The ark was to hold the tablets that Moses brought down from Mount Sinai. It was to be made of gold, overlay on the inside and outside, even though the inside won't be visible. This says something about people, as Dr. Ira Schweitzer teaches, whose inner thoughts and motivations are as important as how they look at others. You want your inner thoughts to be expressed by your actions. For example, if you see someone getting bullied, you can feel bad for them, but you can also help them out. You can break it up, find an adult, or come to the person's defense. Instead of just feeling badly, that's a good inner golden thought. You can actually take action, a good outer golden behavior. Our desire is to be golden on the inside and out. If a person is golden on the inside, they're usually golden on the outside. Sometimes a person who seems to be golden on the outside really isn't so golden on the inside. This says something about character. I would like to have my interactions match the ones on the outside too. To do this, I have to be a nice person, but also take care of myself. We all have to work on simply not judging a book by its cover. These passages from the Torah have taught me a couple of things that I would hope to pass on to all of you. One is about character. When God told the Israelites to overlay the ark inside and out with gold, I thought this was something that said something about inner value and outer behavior. I try to match my inner thoughts to my outer behavior. Another is about generosity. God told the Israelites to build him a temple and to accept the gifts that came from their hearts as they were so moved, so that they could make a temple for God. Our community was generous when we renovated our temple, for ourselves and for God. I hope that I have taught you about my Torah portion and Jewish values that we believe in and carry on. We try to teach our friends who are not Jewish, and even those who are Jewish, about Torah or the Bible and the stories, lessons, values, and texts that have great meaning. If we can help each other progress in the world, people of different faiths together, we can make the world a better place. Please join me in the singing of Shefahianu.
Good job slowing down.
Yeah.
Good job. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
Praise are you, sovereign of the universe, who has brought us to life, who has sustained us in life, who has enabled us to come to celebrate this special day together.
Amen. Nice job.
Yeah.
Now you don't get to sit yet. As we prepare to return the Sefer Torah to the Ark, we'll have the opportunity to share some words of blessing to Aaron in front of the open Ark. I invite you to please stand if you are able. Yahalelu et Shem Adonai, ki nisgav shemo levado. Let us praise the name of Adonai, for God's name alone is exalted.
Odo al eretz v'shamayim vayarem keren le'amot tehillah lechol chasidav livnei Yisrael am kerovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
So Aaron, you could be a character or a person of character. Now there's certainly lots of things about you that make us smile and make us laugh. But I don't look at you as being like the character or the class clown or the person who's always bringing attention to himself. No, instead, the young man I see in front of me is a person of immense character. Much of what you taught us about in your Devar Torah that you just shared. This lesson, which I think people heard, but in case it was too fast, I'll try to explain it for a moment here. This idea that the ark had a gold, that there was an overlay of gold on the inside and the out, and the rabbi's asking, well, why on the inside if you can't see it? The answer being so that your insides match your outsides. Well, in all the years that I have known you, watching you from this little boy in our Torah school class, being one of Ezra's classmates, and seeing you grow up today, I have always been impressed by your character. And one of the things I know as well is that a lot of people just learn it, but a lot of people just get it from their family. And the conversations that I've had with your parents and your brother over the years show that character is so important to who you are as a young man, who you are as an American, and who you are as a Jew. What I know and believe to be true, Aaron, is that as you continue to grow up in this community, both Temple Beth Bel and here in Palos Verdes, that you will bring your desire to make this world a better place. You'll take that with you. I think of the moments that we've spent over the last year doing some work with our friends at the Gethsemane Church up in South LA, and how you and your family have really taken the lead to help build bridges with that community and build friendships as well. That's a great demonstration of your character of kindness and reaching out and being generous and open-hearted. I know, too, that your generosity as a person is something that really animates you as well. And we love seeing just how you share so much of this in your care and your concern. So Aaron, I hope and pray that in the years ahead, as we continue to see you grow into this fine young man that you are, I think right now might be about the same height. Maybe you're a little taller, I don't know, but I know that by the time confirmation comes along, I'll be putting my hands up here. I might need a stool. Yes, indeed, yes. Yes, you know that's a yes. There are some things we know to be true. That's one of them. I will stay here and you will go there. That you will always carry the words of our tradition with you, being a role model and exemplar, teaching Torah as you did so ably today, especially to those for whom Torah is unfamiliar, and making the words come alive as you do. So I invite you to come forward as I bestow upon you Birkat Kohanim, the priestly blessing, words that come from this Torah scroll that we say at moments like this, and words that connect you to every other bar bat mitzvah that has stood on this bima and has received this blessing. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God's face shine very brightly upon you and be very, very good to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. And may God reach out to you, bestowing upon you gifts of kindness, of generosity, of selflessness, of fun, and above all, may God bestow upon you the gift of peace. Amen.
Amen.
Please be seated.
So Aaron, I think that I have had the honor of knowing you for almost your entire life. Pretty darn close. From when you were in the half-pint chavurah, hanging out with other preschoolers, and we were celebrating Shabbat together, baking challah, drinking juice. And what I have seen before me is this kid that's always on the fast track, always moving and always learning and always growing, not just in height, but in your soul and in yourself and in your sense of self. I think the blessing that I want to offer you today, you know, your Torah portion taught, V'asu li mikdash v'shachanti betocham, that build for me a holy place, and I will dwell in there. And while you talked so beautifully and taught so beautifully about this holy place here and how our community came together to make this place so beautiful so that God could dwell here, I want to remind you that each of us gets to build a holy place for God inside of ourselves. And that within you, you can create mikdash, a holy place and a holy space. And when you do that, you will never, ever, ever be alone. For you will always know that God is with you. You will always know that this community, that this congregation, that this family are here for you. And you'll be able to hear and to listen to that still small voice of holiness that comes from within. So I offer you this blessing today. And I know that if you just stopped for a moment and quiet down and listen, that you will always know the voice of God. If you're lost, you feel afraid, and you don't know what to say, then listen to our God. Is there a question on your mind? Is the answer hard to find? Then listen to our God. Listen with all your heart and soul, and with all your might. Bind them and learn them and teach them well, every morning and night. quiet yourself, there's nothing to say. Stop all the chatter that gets in the way and listen, listen to our God. When the rain and the thunder finally disappear, there's still a voice that you will hear if you listen, listen to our God. You can hear it from the top of the highest hill or from the valley below. It can come from the edge of the universe. It can come from within your soul. So close your eyes and listen. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Listen, listen to our God. Listen, listen to our God. You're already such a great listener. I just can't wait to see what happens when you hear even a little bit more. Mazel tov.
Mark Kaiser is the president of our congregation, and he has been representing our board of directors on the Bema this afternoon. I'd like to invite him to come over here and to present a few gifts to Aaron on behalf of the congregation.
Let's see what we got here. I know the bounty. I think we got it. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Anything else here? Some tissues? No. That's not a gift.
Thank you, Rabbi and Aaron. Mazel tov. Congratulations on a really beautiful job of reading as well as teaching. Thank you so much for that. And welcome to all of you in our temple. I really did not pay Aaron to solicit more funds for the temple, but just in case you were listening, so be it. Thank you. It really is my distinct honor and to be up here on the Bema with you on this special day. And I believe I was up here a few years ago when your brother was also bar mitzvah. Now I realize that speed is a family trait. So you followed well in the footsteps of Jacob. I have a few gifts to present to you. One, this is on behalf of the temple for this beautiful day. It's a certificate commemorating today, very suitable for framing and actually designed by one of Aaron's peers in the Torah school. So it's a beautiful certificate. And also from the board of directors and the temple, a new mahzor for the high holidays, which we will be transitioning to this year, Mishkan HaNefesh. So this will be your own for as long as you continue on your Jewish journey. We also have a book written by Rabbi Ed Feinstein, who was just here a couple weeks ago on our Taos lecture series. And this book is called Tough Questions Jews Ask. So I know you won't have any trouble, resonating with some of the questions in here, and probably can have some of the answers as well. A second book is called Israel Matters. And this is a book that's being provided by the Federation of the Jewish Federation of Los Angeles, of Greater Los Angeles. And it accompanies, I believe very nicely, this gift certificate provided by the North American Federation of Temple Youth for $250 for your next, or perhaps your first trip to Israel. So I hope you're able to use that very soon. So, Aaron, congratulations, and Mazel Tov.
I would like to thank the following for their gifts, their help, and support. The Temple Beth El Sisterhood for the Kiddush Cup that I received last night. The Board of the Directors for the Bar Mitzvah Certificate and for the High Holy Days prayer books. The North American Federation of Temple Youth for the $250 gift certificate for a trip to Israel after my confirmation year. The Los Angeles Jewish Federation for the book, Israel Matters. Rabbi Briskin for the book, Tough Questions Jews Ask. Rabbi Briskin for helping me out with my Devar Torah and sitting with me and helping me write it and think of ideas for it. Cantor Davidson for the mass amount of sarcasm that is traded between us. And Debbie Rowe filling in for Cantor when he was gone. And for all of them helping me on this day. And my siblings, Jacob, and my mom, dad, my grandma, my grandpa, and my extended family. Thanks to all of you who are here today to celebrate with me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Now you can sit. So Aaron, again, Mazel Tov on becoming Bar Mitzvah and for leading us so ably this afternoon in worship and learning. It's just been a pleasure sharing the Bima for you. And just a special shout out to all of your friends. We know it's not very often that we get this many teens, especially in the front 3 rows. Now, most of our temple kids, they're kind of in and out and back and forth and stuff like that. You guys have been great sitting patiently. We only have about 2.5 hours left, so you guys pretty good so far? You guys good? No, I'm kidding. No, like, if I'm not mistaken, according to Allison, I think we have about 12 minutes.
And I'm
We're
the
normally
one with
about
the mass
7,
amount
but
of sarcasm? Wait a minute.
Really? You never tested me on that one. So before we begin to conclude our service, just a couple of notes. Immediately following our closing song of Oseh Shalom, we'll actually bid farewell to Shabbat with a brief ceremony called Havdalah. It's when we use some of the rituals that we begin Shabbat with, the candle and wine, and we add spices to it, and we bid farewell as we enter into the new week. And you'll be able to, as I continue talking, Cantor Davidson is going to find the pages for Havdalah because I can't remember where they are. So, and we'll let you know exactly where you can follow along with that. After we're going to do Motzi after Havdalah or before? What do you think? After Havdalah? Motzi? And I got it over here. Yeah, okay. So after Havdalah, I'm also going to invite all of the Torah school students who are here today to celebrate with you, Aaron, to come and lead us in saying the blessing over the bread. Afterwards, we'll be able to make your way over to the Long Beach Aquarium. So I think that there's room on the bus for all of the kids, right? We'll see. There we go. Okay, there you go. There's room in there. It's like a big bus that has carriage racks underneath, luggage racks and stuff. So, so the children, especially those of you who don't have parents here, you'll make your way out to the bus. Other folks, if you need directions over to the Long Beach Aquarium, it's only about 15 minutes or so from here, as we will gather to continue the celebration over there. And when we get there, Havdalah's going to be...
When we get there, I've got the page.
Oh, perfect.
Right
Excellent. Good. So we begin to conclude our service with Aleinu on page 586. 586. Please stand if you are able.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשה כגויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please turn to page 595. Page 595. There are stars up above so far away, we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. In just a moment, we will recite Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish, on page 598. I'll invite you to share names of those that you may be remembering, those who died in the last 7 or 30 days, or those who died at this season in years past, the anniversaries of whose deaths may have fallen this past week. We also take time to remember at this moment of celebration for Aaron and his family, those who are with us in spirit but not here in body. We remember Deanne Brandt, Ron Brandt, Dan Brandt, and Augusta Toplet. To these names, we add the names of those you are remembering. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. Let's join together. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shmei Rabbah, be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemei d'kudesha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlomo rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen.
May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say,
Amen. You can put your books down and reach out to one another. We conclude with Oseh Shalom.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Shabbat shalom, mazel tov. Right. Nice job. Wow. Proud of you.
Turn to page 610. Page 610. As we share the blessings of Havdalah. Allah, as we bid farewell to Shabbat and enter into the new week. This beautiful candle, many wicks coming together to form one great light. The sweetness of the wine, which helps us hold on to the sweetness of Shabbat. Sweet spices as well, that fill us with the fragrance of Shabbat as well. We'll share these blessings together.
La 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la la Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei beri hagafen borei beri hagafen lai lai la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai lai la lai 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 la lai la la lai Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei vesamim borei minei vesamim lai lai la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai lai ya la la lai 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 ya la lai ya la lai Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei meorei ha'esh borei meorei ha'esh lai lai la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai lai la 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 lai 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 ya la lai la la lai Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam המבדיל בין קודש לחול, בין אור לחושך, בין ישראל לעמים, בין יום השביעי לששת ימי המעשה. ברוך אתה אדוני, המבדיל בין קודש לחול. המבדיל בין קודש לחול, חטאותינו ימחול. זרענו וכספנו ירק החול, והכוכבים בלילה. שבוע טוב, 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 שבוע טוב. A good week, a week of peace, may gladness reign and joy increase. A good week, a week of peace, may gladness reign and joy increase. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi, Bimhera beyamenu, Yavo Eleinu, Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben David, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi. Shavua Tov and Mazel Tov, everyone.
Torah school classmates coming up for Motzi. Get some lights on. Colliding worlds here, huh?
It all worked. What a shock.
Hold the palette, touch the palette.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz Shabbat shalom.
Or Torah Squall Monday. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.